everyone. Welcome to Kindred House Week 3 on marriage.
Yes.
That's exciting. I think we're actually calling it Kindred Marriage.
Yes.
That's great. This month, we actually wanted to have a chat with you guys about communication and the importance of it and what it means for both men and women in marriage and how to effectively communicate.
I think as women, communication to us is very important. So we also need to understand that when it comes to men, it's not, their communication style is completely different than women. So we're just going to talk about some key points of communication, and hopefully it helps you guys inside of your communication.
Yeah. One of the things when Amanda and myself got married that I realized is that she had practiced communication her entire life.
Amen.
She had sisters and friends, and they talked about feelings and thoughts and dreams and weddings and kids' names, and me and my buddies played sports. And so our communication skills were vastly different. And what communication meant to each and every one of us was different. For me, communication was completely goal-driven. So when I was communicating with my friends, it was about what we were doing and where we were going. And one of the things I realized that sometimes in a marriage, we have to kind of allow communication to kind of go for a bigger scope. Not every communication needs a problem solved as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and for me, when we got married, communications was just talking about anything and everything that Carl would listen to, and a lot about my feelings. I didn't really want him to do anything. I just wanted him to listen and agree with me. So we did have some conflict in our communication at first because we didn't know how to communicate with each other very well.
Yeah, and I think one of the things we've realized in working with people in marriage very often is that a lot of their communication, the longer they've been married, becomes just about work, just about church, and just about kids. And communication in a marriage has to be about so much more than that. It has to be about your hopes and your dreams and where God's taking you and how you're feeling and your losses and your happy times. And it has to be a much broader scope. And one of the things, you can really find yourself in a rut in marriage where your communication becomes something that you're not prioritizing, or that you're not realizing you have allowed to get into a place where you're not really talking about what's going on inside. One of the things I like to say to people is good communication doesn't mean I'm just affirming what you're feeling. It means that I'm listening and we're journeying together as a couple, and I'm not just saying yes or no, or like I'm actually a participant in what's going on in your world. And I think this is important too, because good communication doesn't mean that we agree.
Right.
Good communication means that we're talking about where we're at and we're looking to come together more as a couple.
Yes, and I think one of the biggest things you can learn about communication is, I think sometimes I have wanted Carl to change how he communicates with me, and I think we need to learn how to work inside of each other's communication skills and learn to listen and to learn to have an understanding that Carl's communication is different than mine, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't care about what I'm saying, but it means the communication style is different. So instead of trying to change all of that, we need to learn how each other communicate and learn how to operate effectively inside of that.
Yeah, so we just want to give you a couple keys that we've used to kind of strengthen our communication and how we are with each other. And the first thing I want to say about this is that one of the things me and Mandy are committed to is honoring the difference that we are as a husband and wife. So yes. Honoring how God made me a man and her a woman, and what that means about how our point of views, how we're going to see things, and also the importance of God's design in a marriage, and that we are going to have communication that is respectful and it is rooted in the heart of God and what God has created us for.
Yes. Also, one of the main things that I think we have learned throughout our marriage is to speak edifying words to each other. Don't just have conversations when there's problems, right? Like, conversations should be about all types of things, not just when there's a big issue. And also, when I say speak edifying words, I mean speak things that say I. Use I statements more than you statements, right? Like, for an example, if I say to Carl, you never listen to me, well, that's not real. That might be how I feel, but that's not actually real. And that will automatically make Carl feel attacked, and he'll kind of shut down in the conversation. So use more statements of, I feel like you don't hear me or you don't listen to me, instead of putting all the blame onto him, so we can have an effective conversation about that.
Yeah, one of the things that's really important about doing that is if Mandy says to me, you never listen to me, well, that's just absolutely not true. Of course I listen to you. I listen to you all the time. Like when you tell me we're having pizza, I hear you. I heard what you said, and I'm excited about that. But it doesn't really help us move along the communication because it instantly causes conflict. But when she says, I feel like you're not listening to me, it gives me an opportunity to apologize that she feels that way, and also acknowledge that I need to be a little bit better of an active listener. What I mean by that, listening is not sitting there in silence. Listening shows your partner that you're engaged in the communication and that you care about what they're saying. And I think that's really important. And the second thing, did you want to say anything else about that?
No.
All right, what's the second thing?
Active listening.
Oh, I already touched on that.
Yes.
Look at that.
Active listening, I think, is so important in communication because it does help get rid of any confusion or any misunderstandings that somebody might have when talking. Because people communicate differently, but they also hear information differently as well. So when you're active listening to somebody, that means you are either repeating, not word for word, what they're saying, but you're paraphrasing what they said. So you both are on the same page when it comes to listening. So you're not talking about something that's completely different.
Yeah, I think that's really important. And one of the things that allows us to do when we are participating in communication is allows us to understand what our spouse is saying, and also it comes to the next point that we really have to listen to what our spouse is not saying.
Correct. Yes. Communication, especially inside of women, is 60 to 90% nonverbal, right? So
that's true.
Women's faces and how we react to things, it says a lot, right? And so you need to learn how to study your spouse's body language, right? And also have an understanding that your body language is saying stuff as well when you are talking. Yeah,
one of the things that I find in me and Amanda's marriage is all of our communication is 60 to 90% our body language, more than even the words we say.
Correct.
There are many times in our marriage where, I'll be walking around the house and Mandy will be like, are you okay? And I think, I haven't even said anything yet, but I am annoyed. And one of the things I've realized that she can pick up on the subtle differences that I'm operating in, or how I'm feeling, or what's going on with me. And it opens the door for us to have honest and open communication. And if I pay attention and I'm present in my marriage, and this is a really big thing for us, good communication means that I choose to be present in the marriage, which means I'm aware of what's going on with you. I'm paying attention. I'm spending time in your sphere, in the home, and I'm part of us. We're not just on the couch on separate phones or watching a show while also on our phones. Like, we're actually doing life together and participating in each other's worlds.
Right.
Yep.
So the goal with active listening is that for the marriage to succeed, both of you must listen to what is being said without getting defensive.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. So that's the next thing is, don't be defensive when a conversation starts, right? Like, listen to learn, listen to hear, and listen to have an understanding of what your spouse is saying.
Yeah, and I think this is a really big one for husbands, and so I'm going to speak to this a little bit, is it's very easy for both husbands and wives to get offended by what one is saying or to get defensive immediately. Yes. And one of the things that we've worked on in our marriage is the ability to talk about what's frustrating us and what's bothering us without the other party getting mad at us for what we're going through. And that's a really big thing. When you get defensive, you automatically shut down all communication and you start arguing about who's more right. And there's real dangers to getting defensive because it creates a lack of communication in your home.
Yeah.
And there is another point I think is really important.
Yeah,
or do you want to say anything to that?
Yeah, I actually do. Just communicate. Let's communicate. One of the things about getting defensive, I think it's super important that if you are having a conversation that is, maybe about an issue that has arrived, be specific about the issue. Don't use general statements of, you do this all the time, right? Or you have to be specific so you have an understanding of what the conflict and the communication that you're dealing with is actually about. So using specific statements as, you leave your clothes on the floor every single day. That's a specific thing to say, right? Instead of all you do is do this all the time, right? So it's a specific thing, so it leads it just to that, and it doesn't bring in all maybe other things that might be an issue.
Yeah, you went right to leaving clothes on the floor. That feels very fresh. The next one I think is really important is, and I think this is essential, is stop trying to read each other's minds.
Yes.
One of the worst things you can do is to not listen to what your partner is saying and assume you know what that person actually means.
Correct.
And that's a very dangerous trait to have in a marriage. In a marriage, I have to listen to what my wife says, and if I think she's alluding to something, I can ask more questions to find out if she is. But I don't ever want to assume what's going on inside of her if it's different than what she's telling me, and I assume it's different. If we don't talk about it, that's just going to cause real problems.
Yes.
And in communication, I want to avoid trying to read Mandy's mind and actually listen to her heart.
Right. Because as a person who's that's happening to, it gets a little frustrating because that person seems like they know you better and they're not listening to what you're actually saying when you're trying to say it, because they're bringing something else in that's actually not involved in it. So avoid having an understanding of, reading other people's minds when it comes to that.
Yeah, I think that's really important. The kind of one of the next kind of section we want to talk about is how to prioritize communication in your marriage.
Yes.
And I think for each couple, that's going to be vastly different.
Yeah.
But one of the practices that we have as a married couple is that we spend about an hour every morning by ourselves with our coffee, just talking. And we kind of break that into 3 sections of our communication. And it's what we have going on for that day, what we hope to have going on in the future, and what maybe annoyed us about yesterday or isn't going to annoy us about today. And that allows us to leave room to talk about where we're at, how we're doing, how we are feeling, and also the future. And that for us has been really, really important.
Yes, I do think setting intentional time together to have communication about whatever your day looks like is so important, because I read a study once that the average married couple actually only spends about 20 minutes a day talking to each other. And most of that talking is about, what are we doing? Do you know what I mean? What's for dinner?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
that's a real question, though. That's a real question.
Or talking about kids, right? Like the kids did this or the kids did that. And I think if you guys can set intentional time together to just communicate about you guys, that would be super beneficial to your marriage. For one, it would make you guys feel more connected emotionally. Also, it will stop problems from building and building and building and exploding when you can have communication consistently through a day. We're not saying set time an hour, right? If you can't do that.
Right, yeah.
But set a time at least 20 to 30 minutes a day is super helpful.
Yeah, and I think in that time, one of the things we do is we turn off all of our electronics. So our phones are off and we don't have a TV on. It's just me and Amanda and a cup of coffee. And we each have our own cup, though. That's important because she likes it really sugary. But this has been something that we've prioritized in our marriage for many, many, many years. And if we miss a day, we can feel it. We can certainly feel it in ourselves and in each other. And I would encourage each and every one of you to start to prioritize this a little bit. We actually have a small challenge for you guys for this next month. And the challenge is this. We would love to see each and every one of you over the course of the next month to go on 2 dates. And in those 2 dates, we're going to ask you to make it a date where you can talk and you can communicate. And we're actually going to ask you to not talk about 3 different things.
Yes.
We're going to ask you to not talk about your kids, not talk about your job, and not talk about church. And we're excited for what you're going to end up talking about. And we're also excited for how much this set aside time can bring closeness to your marriage.
Yeah. I do think communication is so important for a marriage. and it can help you guys connect. And I'm excited to have you guys work on some of these things. We work on it all the time still as well. Like, it's never something that you don't have to work on. But communication, effective communication, I think is a key to a great marriage.
Absolutely. Have an amazing, amazing month, and we'll see you soon.